This is how I made a one-color face logo from a photo using Photoshop and Illustrator. Now, if you're anything like me, not an artist, this process won't come naturally to you. The best example I've seen of this is the KFC logo. It is amazing. Using nothing but black shadows, you can apply the features of a face in one color, but it is not easy to do. So with this logo project I finished recently for an endoscopic surgeon called Dr. Stephen Patash, they just needed a one-color representation of Stephen's face. The old logo didn't scale well, but the surgical cap was important, so it's clear right off the bat that Stephen is a surgeon. So the first thing I did was Photoshop a surgical cap onto Stephen's head to make a good reference photo. I did this with a couple of options, and while I was here, I used the curves tool to bump up the contrast between the shadows and the highlights. Back in Illustrator, I made an image trace of these photos using the black and white logo preset. And then using the threshold slider, I made a bunch of grabs at different thresholds to try and capture the details of the face at different intensities. And using the pencil tool, I drew around these traces to try and represent the shadows with clean lines. If you double click on the pencil tool and change the settings to this, you can manipulate and tweak your vectors by just drawing over the same spot. And if you want to smooth out any sections, you can press A for the direct selection tool, select only the path points you want to smooth, and go to Object, Path, Smooth to iron out those kinks. And this was my workflow. Draw, smooth, until I could get this as simple as possible while still looking like Dr. Patash. And this was really not easy. So here's a tip when you're working on fine details. Go to Window, New Window, and then Window Arrange Tile. The zoom level on the right edits in real time while you're working. So at a glance, I could see if the change that I just made had stopped the design looking like Dr. Patash. It took days of back and forth with the client to refine this, but eventually we got this to a point where it not only resembled his face, but was simple enough that when we scaled it down to use on something like his website, Stephen was still recognizable. Now all we had to do was invert it so it looks good on a dark background, but that is for another video, so follow me to stay updated.